So, the iPhone 16 just released, and by all accounts, it seems like another decent upgrade to an already great lineup of phones. And I'm here to tell you why you absolutely should not buy it. Let's talk about it. So, let's get one thing out of the way right off the bat. There's nothing wrong with the iPhone 16. In fact, judging by early reviews as well as Apple's overall track record, especially in the last couple of years, the iPhone 16 lineup looks to be another easy contender for the best phone of the year, or at least worthy of the top 5 depending on your preferences and all. No matter which one of these you buy, you're bound to get an absolutely excellent phone with great performance, amazing cameras, a solid battery life, and a system that's both intuitive and fun to use. Even the baseline cheapest iPhone 16 is going to be a worthwhile purchase that will serve you well for years to come. But that last point right there is also why you absolutely should not buy this phone at all. Alright, now obviously there are a million caveats to what I'm telling you right now, but the fundamental argument I'm making is this. If you have an iPhone from within the last 2 to 3 years, let alone an iPhone 15, then there really isn't much point to upgrading to a new one this year. And sure, there definitely are a few reasons why you might want to get one, but I'd argue that there are anywhere between 800 to 1600 reasons why you absolutely shouldn't. So, in the interest of fairness, let's take a look at what you do get if you decide to buy the latest iPhone and see just exactly how it stacks up compared to older iPhones. Every year when Apple announces their latest lineup of iPhones, they do an absolutely amazing job of making you feel like they've overhauled their phones to such an extent that you would be missing out on a ton of features if you somehow resisted the urge to run out and buy one. But what exactly is new and improved about them? Well, I think the best way to really judge this is to put all the latest phones up and compare each and everything about them side by side so you can see for yourself whether this actually makes a big difference or not. So, here is every baseline iPhone from the new iPhone 16 all the way down to the iPhone 12. Now let's see how they stack up in each category. So the iPhone 16 has a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR display and is built out of aluminum with a glass back, which is the exact same as the 15, the 14, the 13, and the 12. It has an action button, which you can map to do one of several other things like open up the camera app or turn the flashlight on or off, but it defaults to being a mute switch, which is what all the other phones have on their side instead of the action button. It comes with the A18 chip, which has a 6-core CPU and a 5-core GPU, which you also get on the iPhone 15 and 14, whereas the 13 and 12 have one single GPU core less. And they all have a 16-core neural engine. Now, when it comes to the camera, this is where Apple touts their biggest improvements in the last few years, as the iPhone 16 has a 48-megapixel main camera and a 12-megapixel wide camera, which is still the same as the iPhone 15, but better than the 12-megapixel main camera on the older iPhone models. This also allows it to use a 2x zoom without losing any detail, which is a handy little feature to be sure. It also has a new camera control.
Camera control.
Camera control.
Camera control. Camera control.
Camera control.
Camera control. Camera control. Camera control. Camera control.
Camera control. Camera control.
Camera control.
Camera control.
Which allows you to open up your camera so much faster than what your ancient iPhone can do. I mean, just look at this. Who has time to sit around and wait for that? Now, it also does allow you to do other things, such as access all the other features that are also literally one whole button tap away. So, I guess it does reduce the amount of times you have to tap the screen by like several taps every now and then. Very innovative. Other than that, the camera system is practically the exact same. You have portrait mode with focus and depth control, which you find on every iPhone except for the iPhone 12, which still has depth control, and it comes with photographic styles. Although this one has latest generation photographic styles, which I'm sure are an absolute game changer when it comes to taking pictures. And of course, the newest phone also allows you to shoot spatial photos and videos, which is great if you own an Apple Vision Pro. But if you are one of the few people who actually owns one of those, then I'm sure you'll probably be buying the latest iPhone anyway, regardless of what your therapist tells you. You also get Face ID, super fast 5G cellular, a ceramic shield front, water resistance, MagSafe compatibility, and up to 512 gigabytes of storage. I mean, you get the point. Honestly, the spec sheets for these phones are so ridiculously interchangeable that if I were to put a gun to your head and tell you to identify the iPhone based on the specs alone, you'd most likely be watching the rest of this video in hell. Unless you're one of my subscribers, of course. That's right, subscribe to my channel now for instant access to heaven, apparently. Anyway, I could do this entire exercise all over again with the Pro and Pro Max iPhones as well, but you get the gist. Really, there's only one new feature left to discuss that we haven't touched on yet. Apple Intelligence is what you get when you give the marketing department at Apple several years to come up with a catchy, Apple-fied version of AI. Because everything has to have its own unique Apple name, apparently, and Apple Intelligence was the best they could do. But then again, these are the same people who brought us the infamous Dynamic Island and, of course, this year's camera control.
Camera control.
No, we don't need to do that again. Anyway, AI is finally coming to iPhones. And after all these years of waiting, with ChatGPT becoming a mainstream thing in the meantime, Apple's own version of AI is ChatGPT. That's right. Apple now provides you with writing tools, which you can use to rewrite, proofread, and summarize text using ChatGPT. And there's a new and improved Siri, which can handle more requests and understand you better. And for all of your more complex requests, it uses ChatGPT. Meaning now you don't have to download ChatGPT for all your AI needs. Nope, you could just use another app that then will open up ChatGPT for you. Truly revolutionary. It also comes with Image Playground, which lets you generate images based on text prompts, just like DALL-E or Midjourney or Stable Diffusion or Canva or any of the literal 1,000 other AI image generators out there. Except it is, of course, way more limited. And then there's Genmoji, which is also an AI image generator, but just for emojis. So yeah, in case you couldn't tell, I'm not exactly overwhelmed by the idea of Apple Intelligence overall. It literally does precisely nothing new, and on top of that, what it does do is severely limited, which is very much in keeping with Apple's overall philosophy of giving you a very tailored experience so that they're always sure that what you're doing feels high quality in some way, albeit just within a very limited set of parameters. And yeah, I know that it does do some things on the device itself, which means that it will be faster than using online generators for everything. But again, you're saving a couple of seconds at best, and you're sacrificing a lot of freedom and opportunity to do so. But who knows? Maybe in time, Apple Intelligence will grow to be a more useful tool with way more possibilities at hand. But as it is right now, it's just not a whole lot, to be honest. In fact, as of the time of the release of the iPhone 16, it's actually not available at all. So yeah, Apple's big flagship feature that they're touting as the next big thing is not a thing right now. But hey, I'm sure it'll be great someday when we actually get it. Okay, so I've ragged on the iPhone 16 for quite a bit by now, but obviously I'm not saying that there's no point to buying one at all. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the iPhone 16 is still an absolutely great piece of technology and one that I imagine pretty much anyone who buys it will be very happy to own. But Apple is very much in the business of making minor incremental upgrades to their phones. And if you're coming from a recent model of iPhone, then ultimately the actual improvements you're getting will feel minuscule in most cases. So when should you actually upgrade your iPhone? Well, obviously you're free to do so anytime you want. Heck, you could buy a new iPhone every week for all I care.
I like the sound of that.
But my point is, there are way better things you could spend your money on if you already have an iPhone from within the last 2 to 3 years. I'm currently rocking the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and sure, the battery life on it has started to degrade just a little bit, but when it came out, it had some of the best battery life and performance you could find in a phone, and it still holds up extraordinarily well today. In fact, Apple actually has a pretty good track record of supporting their phones for many years after their release, and given the overall quality of their products, there simply isn't much point in upgrading to the latest phone every year. I know that for some of us, we've lived through a time where it actually made sense to upgrade more often. New phones were constantly coming out that were improving and changing in meaningful ways that made it feel like a noticeable difference every time you switched out your phone for a new one. Like, I would go from an HTC one year to a Samsung the next, then a OnePlus, and so on. And every time, it felt like I was moving up a notch in terms of what my phone was actually capable of doing. And it's not like progress has completely stopped overall either. New phones are coming out every year that are better, faster, with more battery life, and new features that are useful. But we have reached a plateau of sorts, where things that came out a few years ago are still more than capable of performing at a way higher level than what you actually need in your day-to-day usage. In a way, you could sort of compare it to the same thing that we've seen happen in the world of video games. If you go back in time a bit, you used to be able to see a clear, significant difference in the overall visual fidelity and possibility of what you could even do in a video game year over year. I mean, GTA 2 and GTA 3 are literally just 2 years apart, and in just 6 years, we went from characters that looked like this to characters that looked like this. But come to more recent times and you'll notice that the change isn't quite as big as what it used to be. And it's the same thing with phones. If you were to switch out your current phone for a Nokia 3310 or even the first iPhone, it would feel absolutely ancient by comparison. But go back to just a few years to say an iPhone 13 and there is literally barely a difference in what you're able to do with it compared to the iPhone 16. So my recommendation is to wait at least 2 to 3 years, maybe even 4, before switching out your phone for the latest model. That way it'll feel like a more significant upgrade and you'll be way more impressed with what you're actually getting for your money. And hopefully we can persuade companies to stop settling for these minuscule upgrades year after year by only propping up their sales figures when they make meaningful changes to their lineups which are worthy of spending money on. But as long as we flock out to buy the latest iPhone every year, we're going to keep seeing them pushing the limits of what actually constitutes a new product. This year alone, we saw Apple release a quote-unquote completely new design for the Apple Watch, which was literally a millimeter thinner with a display that was 0.1 inches bigger. And hell, their new AirPods Max were just the exact same AirPods that they released 4 years ago. Except now it has a USB-C plug, because the EU ordered them to change it. So save yourself some money this year and use it on the PlayStation 5 Pro instead, so you can have slightly nicer looking leaves on the trees in Spider-Man 2. Now there's a meaningful upgrade. An even better upgrade to your life, however, and one that's completely free, would be to leave a like on this video and subscribing to my channel for more tech-related content. Leave a comment down below to let me know what phone you're rocking and what it would take to make you buy a new one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.